Well, I'm Phil Cubeta, back again with Steve Beck, who's founder and Chief Executive Officer of Spring Hill Partners. This is very sophisticated stuff you're doing now because you're at the leading edge of this. You're creating a new asset class. You're working with accredited investors. You're working with people who are quite wealthy. And most of the people in the audience are earlier in their careers and they're not making a huge amount of money themselves. They're not working with the super wealthy people who could be accredited investors. Where might there be an opportunity for people like that to devote their time and their life and their practice and to kind of carry some of this tune into a smaller, more grassroots kind of environment? What have you learned that you could say to them that would, maybe encourage them to do what they can do?
Yeah. Well, look, I think at a personal level, I would encourage people to kind of open themselves up to that question of what is this all for? What am I doing here? What am I here on earth for? Because I feel like that question gets buried. And for a lot of my career that got buried. I was just too busy to think about it, and it was too big, as scary a question. Mm-hmm. But I think, to kind of entertain that, to really think about that and say, well, so just in terms of stewarding, not just my financial assets, right, but my intellectual capital, right, so the knowledge, the experience that I have, my relationship capital, the networks, the trusted relationships that I've built, mm-hmm, to do good, to have an impact, a beneficial impact on people around me. That could be, could be in Africa or it could be close to home.
Right.
And so I think that leads people often to get involved in, volunteer activities and so on and serving. But there may be other ways. And I guess for me, the question that kept bugging me was, look, I have all this training. Well, how do I use that? I mean, it's one thing I can go and help, put bricks in an orphanage, uh-huh, in Mexico, which I actually did. But I'm not a skilled bricklayer. I mean, so that may make me feel good and it provides, mm-hmm, a service. Mm-hmm. But how do I use my business skills? Right. And so that was, part of my journey.
Let me ask you another question. We didn't rehearse this, but I'm very interested. In your own personal affairs, I mean, obviously you're very sophisticated financially. Do you have advisors, financial advisors, and did they ever catalyze this conversation, or did this come totally from you without any outside assistance?
Yeah, this came primarily from me. So I mean, I've talked to my financial advisors about, right, this, and trying to get them excited about it, because I feel
you're leading, you're pulling them.
But in a sense, it's sort of come through my own journey. Mm-hmm. But I think if I think about the trusted position that a trusted financial advisor has, then to think of this topic of conversation as something which I think adds tremendous value to families of whatever kind of wealth and income, yes, level they have, right? Yes. To have a conversation which actually at the end of the day strikes at people's kind of identity and their core values. And how do we give life to that as financial advisors? Well, how can we steward your capital in a way that that is consistent with your values, not just as looking at this short-term profit maximization? How do we help free you up to get involved in the things that you want to get in? So do we take account of that in our financial planning? How do we help your kids to get involved? This is the fun thing for me in the last, I guess, sort of 10 years or so, has been able to travel with my 3 girls, mm-hmm, to sub-Saharan Africa. Right. And for them to see, I couldn't take them into a board meeting at Merrill Lynch where I was, advising, and they didn't understand what they were doing. They wouldn't have had any fun, and but I can take them, sure, to go and see, sure, some of the things we're seeing on the ground. Yeah. And of course that takes the blinkers off for them, absolutely, and gets them to ask these, absolutely, questions at an earlier age than, absolutely, I was asking them. Right. So I think that's a real value.
Yeah, maybe in closing, I think we can say, I think what you've seen in the comments, people really do want to have this conversation. Whether they're going to have it with their advisor, they're going to have it with their spouse, family, kids. I mean, this is the conversation that drives the money and the meaning both. And wherever we are in our careers, I believe many people want to have this conversation. Whatever style of planning you're doing, if you can bring this kind of passion to it, you distinguish yourself from the crowd, and you can be a huge service in your local community. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you, Phil. Enjoyed it.